Tell me when you're ready, sir, so I can go live.
Ready. Give me your signal when you're ready, sir, please.
And take a moment before you start talking once you say live.
Ready?
I want to thank the members of the press, especially those who are tuning in, and we are blessed to have a full camera here today, such that all members of the press can receive this message. Our country is in turmoil. Evidence of it was seen on January 6th at the Capitol. Our country is in turmoil. Evidence of it is being seen as we try to traverse the country, the airways. Our country is in a state of crisis, and this state of crisis has to be addressed. We cannot allow the instigator of the turmoil and the person who has engendered the crisis to go unaccountable. I'm very pleased that members of Congress are now talking about impeachment. This is something that I have been talking about for years because it was very evident to me and others, I might add. And I'll be so bold as to say one other person's name, the Honorable Maxine Waters. It was very evident to us for years that this was an unfit president. And pursuant to our belief, and my belief more specifically, that he was an unfit president, I brought articles of impeachment before the House of Representatives on 3 separate occasions, 3 separate years. These articles of impeachment dealt with the president's hate, his hate. This hate is at the root, at the foundation of what happened on January 6th. I believe that this turmoil, this crisis that we're in, has to be addressed. I believe that impeachment is a means by which it can be addressed. In the past, when I brought these articles, more than 100 persons signed on to these articles of impeachment. There were 3 individually, 100 persons. We laid the foundation for the impeachment that ensued, for the impeachment that actually took place. That foundation was laid by these 110 members of Congress who signed on to these articles of impeachment. We made it possible for others to move forward with the impeachment. And in the process, others had to acknowledge that impeachment did not require the commission of a statutory offense, that a president can be impeached without having committed a statutory offense. A president can abuse his power in office. There are multiple reasons why a president can be impeached for reasons other than a statutory offense. All of these things are important because as we consider these articles of impeachment, it's important for us to note certain things. One, we have to note that censorship is something that I would support. I would support censorship, but I don't believe censorship is enough. I will support it. And the reason I say that censorship is not enough is because we had a form of censorship, a condemnation, if you will, of the president. I have it here, HRES 489, wherein we literally, and I shall read the language, indicated as follows, that we strongly condemn, I'm reading from the whereas portions, and it reads, resolved that the House of Representatives, that's why I said we strongly condemn, House of Representatives strongly condemns the President, Donald Trump, condemn his racist comments, strongly condemns President Donald Trump's racist comments, had to repeat that have legitimized and increased fear and hatred of new Americans and people of color by saying that our fellow Americans are immigrants. And those who may look to the president like immigrants should go back to other countries by referring to immigrants and asylum seekers as invaders, and by saying that members of Congress who are immigrants or those of our colleagues who are wrongly assumed to be immigrants do not belong in Congress or in the United States. So we've tried that. We had the condemnation by the House. Impeachment is the remedy that the Constitution provides for an unfit president who's causing harm to society. I support all of the articles of impeachment that have been filed thus far. I am a co-sponsor. There are 3 such articles of impeachment that have been filed. I believe them to be articles that we can go forward with. But I also understand that the root cause of this is the weaponization of hate by this president. This weaponization of hate can be illustrated with the Jews having to suffer because of the president saying there were some fine people among the hate mongers in Charlottesville who were screaming, "Jews will not replace us, blood and soil." Jews have suffered in this country because of the hate that he has recognized and literally legitimized. Muslims have suffered because of the president's efforts to ban them from entering the country. Can you imagine what it might be like for a Muslim to have to identify himself or herself in some way in a place wherein there are plenty of persons who bought into the president's hateful language that he has used by weaponizing the notion that Muslims can't come into the country? LGBTQ persons have suffered because of the president's efforts to ban them from the military. And black people have suffered because of the president's simple belief and publishing it that Black Lives Matter is a symbol of hate. The president, the principle of Black Lives Matter, a symbol of hate. All of these things form the root cause of what happened on January 6th. So now we in Congress have been made uncomfortable. We understand what it's like now to suffer the ire and the hate of people who are coming into our personal space, invading our personal space, doing damage and harm, threatening. We understand what it's like now. So now we want to impeach. But impeaching him for specifically what happened with the insurrection is not enough. We need to add to articles of impeachment the weaponization of hate. This has been brought to the Congress before, and if there are going to be articles of impeachment, there will be articles associated with what the president has done to spew his hate-filled rhetoric and to cause people to suffer. Another example, when he spoke to peace officers, police officers, and said you don't have to be nice when you arrest people. That sent a message that black people understood very clearly, that when they're being arrested, they can be abused. Presidents ought not send such messages. We have to deal with the hate. We haven't dealt with it. We've had an opportunity to deal with it on 3 occasions. If there is another vote on impeachment, it will include some article associated with the hate that the president has spewed. I want you to know, dear friends, that the president has indicated he will not attend the inauguration. This is but another message. Some people may not understand, but others do, that he doesn't sanction, he doesn't approve of the inauguration. This is not aiding and abetting the peaceful transfer of power. This is aiding and abetting people who would prevent and thwart the peaceful transfer of power. That's a message that they are receiving. So they understand now that the message the president sent previously was but something that was done in a perfunctory way, that he wasn't really serious about that. This last message is a message that they will take to heart. So we must understand, dear friends, that there is more at stake here than what happened on January 6th, when we had the insurgency at the Capitol. we must understand that this is about democracy as it relates to the entire country. This is that is important, this insurrection. But what that insurrection is evidence of a bigger issue, and that is the hate that the president has for 4 years had an opportunity to develop, if you will. He has, over 4 years, fanned the flame of confusion with hate. And what happened on January 6th was the latest example of how it can come back to hurt and haunt this great country. I am going back to Congress. I will be on a call shortly with my colleagues, and I intend to make it very clear that hate must be a part of any articles of impeachment. This is not a good day for our country. January 6th was not a good day for our country. People boarding planes now are being harassed. Things are being said. This is bigger than what happened on one day. The airline flight attendants have been calling this to our attention for some time. When you're on a plane, 500 miles per hour flying through the air at 35,000 feet, there has to be order on that plane. We cannot have people heckling and creating a disturbance on the plane because we don't know what it will lead to, and it's not about just one person on the plane. Everybody on that plane is at risk. This is the kind of thing that the president has caused us to have visited upon us. We have a responsibility and a duty as well as an obligation to now stand up to all of the would-be bigots, who would want to replicate what the president has done. There are people who literally will campaign using the president's style of weaponizing hate to get elected. We've got to send them a message that that kind of bigotry and hate, racism, Islamophobia, xenophobia, all of the invidious phobias, homophobia, that kind of hate will not be tolerated. And the best way to do it is to impeach this president for the hate that he has stirred, the hate that he has caused to harm this country. I will leave you with this final comment and take some questions. I love my country. I love my country. I say that wherever I happen to be. I have no shame in saying I love my country. I believe that we can make real the noble American ideals that this country stands for. I believe in liberty and justice for all. That's why I'm here today. I believe in government of the people, by the people, for the people, not an insurrection that prevents the transfer of power in accordance with the will of the people. I believe in government of the people, by the people, for the people. I believe that all persons are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is why I'm standing here today. I'm standing here because I see the big picture. And I'm willing to take on the entire Congress of the United States of America if it becomes necessary to do so. I want the record to show that at least one person wanted to deal with the hate that is at the root cause of what happened on January 6th. I welcome a question.
I have one from Channel 11. I'm going to read it. You kind of alluded to this. There's video posted on Twitter showing you being harassed at an airport yesterday. Can you walk us through that experience and your reaction to it?
Let me deal with the principal reason for the press event first, and then I'll deal with any other questions that we may have.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's. Are there some questions related to the press conference from any member of the press? I assume that as the pool camera, they would call you if they have questions.
Right, and this is the only question.
Okay, well, I do hope that the press will see that this impeachment is an issue of great importance. This pool camera, as I understand it, is taking this to all of the various members of the press who would want to have it. And I think that this is a pretty important issue. I have alluded to the issue that's been raised as a question, and I'll get to it. But I want to make sure that their members of the press are given an opportunity to talk about the impeachment. One member mentioned to me a question of, is there time? And the answer is yes. There is time for, the gentleman's acknowledging that that is a question. The question again is there time to perfect impeachment? Yes, there is time to do it. Congress, but only has to have the will to do it. There's a way. The president can be impeached, and this can be sent to the Senate post haste, and the Senate can take up the articles of impeachment. The Senate, but only has to have the will to move forward and have a trial. This is about will, and this is about whether you care about the racism, the sexism, all of these various means of discrimination that have been weaponized in this country. Whether you care about the bigotry, the Jews who suffer, the Muslims who suffer, the LGBTQ plus who suffer, the Asians who have suffered, with comments about Kung flu and the China virus. This is about people that were not in that building when the insurrection took place. We have to have this as a part of articles of impeachment. All right, I'll move forward to, if there are no other questions, I'll move forward to your question.
Yeah,
Would you repeat
were not
it?
the only, this has happened to, I believe, Mitt Romney also, about being harassed in airports, and you kind of alluded to it.
Yes.
As well.
Yes, on my way to Houston from Washington, D.C., I encountered persons who identified themselves as Trump supporters. They were very vocal. I've been harassed at various places in the city. I believe people have a right to peacefully protest. I'm a peaceful protester myself. I believe people have the right to protest peacefully and eventually be arrested for their peaceful protest. But there is a point at where peaceful protest crosses a line and it becomes harmful to people. We must assure people who are on planes at 35,000 feet, flying at 500 miles per hour, that there will be order on those planes. Every person on a plane is at risk. We must, as members of Congress, give greater assurance that this will not happen to people who are part of the flying public. But it goes beyond just the plane. It also includes the airport itself. If people cannot traverse the airport safely without this kind of harassment that may lead to violence, then the flying public will perceive that it is not safe in airports. This is a bit different from some of the other places. People have to go to planes, they have to get there timely. This is impeding a person's opportunity to engage in travel. It's a part of the commerce of the country. We have to assure people that they can move freely in airports. This is why, when I am back in Congress, I will also raise these issues with anyone and everyone that's associated with travel by way of airports, and I may include some other forms of transportation as well. But it's important, and I do plan to raise it when I return to Congress.
Are you concerned about being the target of similar attacks and maybe an escalation or worse incidents in the future?
I have already been a target of attacks. There have been times when I have had to have officers surround me to be in a parade. Literally. Police protection to the right, to the left, to the front, and the rear. But Dr. King reminds us that a person who hasn't found something worth dying for isn't fit to live. You gotta be willing to take a stand in life. You gotta be willing to know that there are some things worth dying for. This is why our military will traverse great distances across the globe, put their lives on the line to protect liberty and justice for all here in this country. They are willing to say to us, there are some things worth dying for. If they're willing to say it to us, why can't we be willing to say to them that we too will stand for liberty and justice for all. So yes, I've been threatened. The threats continue to come, but the threats will not deter the need for us to speak up and speak out against the hate that we have in this country. As evidence of the threat being taken seriously, I don't take it lightly, officer, but would you come this way, please? As evidence, I'm in my congressional office, and I'm here, and I have security with me to come in this congressional office. But I have an advantage that most people don't have in this country. I can have an officer here with me. Most of the people who have to suffer out in the community with this hate, they don't have officers to protect them. And it's our duty as members of Congress to provide the same level of safety that we have for the American people. So the question is, will this inspire others to do hateful things? It may, but remember, a person who hasn't found something worth dying for isn't fit to live. That's Dr. Martin Luther King. I would like to just thank all of the persons who have been available to be a part of this event. And I would like to let you know that I will be sending out a press statement that will include much of what I have said and some things that I have not said. I will send out such a press statement. And I thank you very much. And thank you, officer. Thank you.
Thank you.